colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that we'll, as much as possible, allow for our social distancing so that we maintain the World Health Organization prescribed distances. We are coming to this press conference. First of all, I want to thank you for coming at a very short notice. I want to appreciate members of our leadership who are here present, our Deputy National Chair, Honorable Scala, our Secretary General, Honorable Wende, members of the Standing Committee, our Secretary in the Presidential Office, Honorable Zuzai, and others whom I have not mentioned by name. We are meeting here to just make our position clear in the assessment of our preparedness and the level of response to COVID-19 virus. Fellow citizens, we are meeting at a time when we have extraordinary developments across the whole country. Extraordinary developments in the whole world. You have seen of cases in Italy, you have seen of cases in Spain, the UK, the United States, China, Africa, South Africa, and of course recently in Zimbabwe. What shocks us, what has prompted us to call for this very important press briefing, and we're agonizing. We would have wanted to hold this press briefing online, but we then realized that because of the situation in Harare, where it is business as usual, where it is life in the ordinary, we need to have some kind of an agent sign, an SOS, an emergency call that we are making to the nation, that we are making to other authorities that are concerned, that we can't continue to be ordinary in circumstances that are extraordinary. We can't continue to come in a normal way. Look at what's happening around in Iran. People you find in the combis, on the Zukpo, people who are on the banks, the queues, a number of people on the streets, in our spaces that are crowded. It's not normal, but our people continue to live in a normal way. I've just heard of very disturbing news this afternoon. I've heard of the passing on of a young and illustrious, talented Zimbabwean, Zoro Makamu. It is with sadness that we know this development. May his soul rest in peace. In fact, I was aware of this information when I made mention of the cases that had been reported. This information was already received from our local authorities. But we didn't want to raise alarm. We also didn't want to invade privacy and confidentiality of individuals concerned, families that are concerned. It is against this background that we are coming to you at a time when the nation is facing a catastrophic pandemic that is threatening the lives of tens of thousands of people globally. This catastrophe has never been seen before. While these other countries are witnessing a spike in the number of infections, there can be no doubt that in our own situation there's been complacence, there's been indifference, and in some cases we're sharing jokes around this virus, which is something that we cannot afford. Consistent with the dictates of leadership, I'd like to say we are taking our own effort at the party level, but also in the areas and zones of autonomy where we are in charge in local authorities, to encourage our mayors, our members of parliament, our councillors to take the initiative at various community levels, to try and inform, engage communities, but also practice social distancing, continue to emphasize washing of hands. In most important cases, also avoid large gatherings, avoid transportation and traveling where it is not necessary. I want to take this opportunity to appreciate a raft of measures that have been put in place by local authorities, by central government, also by our well-wishers. I know businessmen, Jack Ma, and many others who are philanthropic are taking a number of initiatives to support Africa, to support the world. We appreciate all those initiatives. This pandemic is going to affect every facet of business, every facet of our work styles and lifestyles, and for that reason we need to take extraordinary measures. It has been brought to my attention that the extent of our health infrastructure at the moment is grossly inadequate to cope with this pandemic. Our intensive care units are inadequate, our protective clothing for our nurses and other health personnel, particularly those who are in the front line, is also inadequate. Our hospitals are short-staffed, we have no medicines, we have no drugs. Generally, our level of preparedness is inadequate and appalling. And taking into account this level of preparedness, we are now urging and advising the population to take extreme circumstances with extreme approaches. It is my humble submission that the country starts implementing a systematic lockdown, a process which is time-marked, time-bound, to make sure that we, as a leadership and as a people, take the necessary precautionary measures to also boost up our capacity, our preparedness, and of course attend to infrastructural deficits that are supposed to be attended to. The systematic lockdown is going to be a tremendous way ahead, an effort to make sure that we stop the spreading of the infectious disease. Our preparedness has been very low. Our hospitals are inadequate. In fact, we just have Bulawayo and Harare being adequately, or to some extent, trying to do something. But all the other provinces are not in any way in a state of readiness. We need to immediately do the following. We must stop all overseas flights into Zimbabwe, immediate effect. We need all the visitors arriving from high-risk countries to be put in some kind of a mandatory quarantine for a particular period, subject to testing, detection of the disease, and also making sure that mechanisms are put in place if there is need for treatment, for them to be treated. We need to make sure that we announce urgent support for our nurses, our doctors, our health professionals, our caregivers, so that we equip them with enough tools of trade as much as they're supposed to do frontline work. We need to limit the number of passengers on our buses. We must also be able to stop unnecessary travel and encourage Zimbabweans to avoid gatherings, to avoid even coming into the CBD and high population areas. Vehicles must also be equipped with sanitizers. We must equip our hospitals, particularly in Harare and Bulawayo, across the whole country, in all the major cities, even in the rural areas, supporting them with information, discouraging all big gatherings, particularly in the countryside and even the high-density suburbs. We also need to encourage, and we are calling upon mobile network operators like Econet, Net1, and other internet service providers to give a special dispensation of availing cheaper data and services for various institutions and various personalities and individuals to try and sensitize the nation about this pandemic. We call on government to consider tax rebates and waive duties to enable philanthropists to bring support, protective clothing, hand sanitizers, ventilators that are in such short supply within a short space of time. We are also calling on the issuing of special incentives to corporates and well-wishers, particularly the private sector, to support the poor and the vulnerable. We want employees that can work from home to also be isolated. We've taken the lead in Harvey's house. All the workers are now working from home. We would want this to be taken by other companies that are progressive and all citizens to also take heed to this call. For those in essential services, staff, protective materials and equipment should be provided. All those who have traveled to the high-risk countries must continue to exercise caution and in some cases do what was done by President of Botswana, President Masisi, to self-isolate and self-quarantine. We're expecting the same in our own circumstances for those who have traveled, so that we also take a lead in doing the same. Online platforms must be activated. We also need to make sure that we call on government to supply masks, gloves, sanitizers, and also these things to be done at subsidized prices. I've just gone around most of the pharmacies. I've realized that we do not have sanitizers. We do not have those masks. We don't have gloves. And that is a cause for concern. So we need urgent, extraordinary measures. We can't have a business as usual under this circumstance. It can't be business as usual. It must be business unusual. If we were to be in government, we would do the following. We would immediately avail Forex to our local authorities so that they are able to provide water in high density suburbs. They've told us that they have capacity to supply water for free for at least 1 month on condition that they get foreign currency from central government. So we would provide that foreign currency. It has to be provided because this is an urgent matter. There has to be an urgent budget that is set aside by government to be allocated as an independent budget to just cater for this pandemic. We need to reorganize our capacity to detect, test, treat, quarantine, isolate cases as and when is necessary. We've just learned our lessons. We need to also, in this case, appeal to the international community to help our local authorities, our central government to deal with this case. This must be done as a matter of urgency. This is why we feel that this matter requires the agency it deserves. We cannot afford to be political, to be partisan. Life is more important than politics. We can't afford to be divided as a nation. We need to be united and move together to confront this common enemy. Once we deal with the virus that we're supposed to deal with, we'll always retreat back to our politics and then continue our politics as normal. But at the moment, there's no politics for dead people. So we can't afford to have the luxury of complacence, the luxury of not doing what has to be done. We need to make sure that we put all shoulders to the block, all hands on the deck to deal with this virus. And this is our call to the entire nation. This is our call to government. This is our call to local authorities. This is our call to the private sector, to faith leaders, our church leaders, to do something about it. And also practice social distancing, educate people, and have a common view moving forward so that we're able to deal with this. Thank you very much for coming under very difficult circumstances at a short notice. But we thought that it was necessary for us to share what we feel is the way forward. Thank you very much. God bless you. I'm also sure if we have any questions or areas that would require merit clarification. Yes, tonight.
In other words, can you say you are not happy with how the Mandela government is approaching this COVID-19?
Well, I must say that I wanted to, and I want to, I will continue to resist the temptation to go into politics. I can't be pointing fingers, I can't be blaming anyone. I must be pointing fingers at ourselves. We must do more. The fact that you look outside the window, just look at how people are going about their normal business. And you then compare with what has happened in Italy, what has happened in Spain, in other countries. It shows you that we're not doing enough as a people to educate others, but also to press the button of emergency and to drive the country into a mode of extraordinary. That's what we need. And it is for all of us. Under normal circumstances in South Africa, you've seen political parties being buried, national interests becoming the common denominator. That's what we are hoping here. To see ourselves as politicians removing our enumerated belongings and have one common denominator belonging, Zimbabwe, so that we are able to have Team Zimbabwe effort beyond the political parties, beyond the sloganeering, beyond the finger pointing. It doesn't help us to say that Mnangagwa is inadequate. If he's inadequate, that does not save our lives. We don't also need politicians to tell us to save lives. We must do whatever we can. And this is our effort to say, let's lead, let's take the lead. And it's every citizen's right and obligation and duty to also take the lead. So yes, we have been inadequate. Yes, things have been done in a manner that is not sufficient, and we need to do more around our support to citizens, information-wise. In the rural areas, people don't even know about it. They actually think that is some animal that is just being talked about, almost like a fairy tale. So we need to have a radical shift. Our police force, our military, our army, in their civilian obligations, must be turned into an active mode so that they begin to do what they know best. And we know that we have a very competent military in civilian matters. Thank you very much. God bless you.